A Court of Fairies and Fiction. Akafath Girls Podcast. Hosts Mel Liv and Aka. A bookish theory and discussion podcast for the Akatar, Crescent City, and Tug series, as well as other romantasy books. Guest episode, Midgardian Madness, with Sam.
Hello, everybody. I am here with my friend Sam. We have been DMing for months now?
Yeah, maybe longer. I don't know.
Probably longer. About all things Massiverse and theories and all of this stuff. And I kept telling her, you have to be on the podcast. And so the girls ended up not being able to film tonight, and she lives in the future. She's all the way in Midgard while I'm stuck in Prithian. She's like 14 hours ahead of me. It's the afternoon there.
The afternoon for me right now.
So I was like, this works out perfectly. But earlier we were talking about the princes of hell and Thanatos and Amren and Fury and all of that stuff. And yeah, I initially when I read Hofas, I was like, oh, so is Hewn City the fifth layer of hell? And then I was convinced that it was hell, but then they were like, oh no, hell's a different planet and this and that. And I was like,
right.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, it's not. And then there was a line in Hofas when Bryce and Hunt, is it Hofas or? Yeah, it's Hofas. When they go back and Bryce and Hunt use the salt in the Cave of Princes to go to hell. And they're frozen and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so they meet with Adis and Apollyon in their own realm and Thanatos. And Thanatos. And Apollyon has this out of pocket line, and I wish I could remember it word for word, but he has this out of pocket line where they talk about how, I thought hell would be all fire and brimstone and all this weird stuff. And it's all the structures and everything.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. And then he's like, oh, Thanatos is the engineer, whatever. He builds things, basically. And I was like, huh. So Thanatos is in Hewn City. Hewn City is literally hewn from a mountain.
A giant rock mountain.
Just like this little in-between place. I'm like, huh. Isn't that wild?
Interesting.
Very interesting. So then I was like, I don't know. The timeline is weird, and I can't tell whether it's Sarah she's admitted that oh, I don't really keep track of the timeline that well, and I'm really bad at math. Yeah. And I was like, what the hell, Sarah? Seriously. So I was like, okay, well, before Selene came back, when they were in Midgard after Thea and then went to Midgard or whatever, there were no courts or anything. It was just one big island of Prithian, whatever. So then she comes back and there's courts. Now, the interesting thing about this is that somewhere in the hologram, Selene's talking about how before they went to Midgard, Thea obviously had let Rigellus in by accident, thinking he was friendly. And then she also, when she realized that, she called forth Hell, and Adis answered, and then she was like, oh, he was my mate. He was my mom's mate through worlds or whatever. So then in Crescent City too, Apollyon's talking about, oh, Adis and Thea and Adis and Thea. And so basically Adis had told them all about whatever happened with Thea. But I think she said she enlisted the help of Hell, so I don't think it was just Adis, but Selene focused on that because that was her mom's mate, obviously. So I was like, I think it's interesting that when she left, there were no courts, structures, or anything. And then she comes back and there's 7 High Lords.
How long were Thea and her daughters? How long were they in Midgard for?
I know. Well, they were there.
How long they were there?
So they were there, and then it said, I don't remember if it says weeks or months. It might have said after a few weeks the Tog Fae got there. Because it was around the same.
Yes.
And then, like, she didn't really say the timeline, but then she was like,
Yeah.
and then we had the war against the humans where they burned down Parthos and like all that stuff
Right, right,
happened.
right, right,
And
right.
we were trying to get them to tell, to basically bow to us and all this stuff. So like
Yeah.
we weren't really given like a whole
Like a
timeline of
time
how long they were there
to.
before Peleus kills Thea and then they like
I
run.
know.
Like what? When? How long? How many years, Sarah?
Yes. It's like, what if it was like 10 years? Like, who knows how long it took? Like, Midgard's been there for like 15,000
Could have
years,
been
ruled
like
by.
a century.
Right? Like, we don't know.
Like their weeks was probably like 3 years.
Yeah, like a few days, and it was
Yeah.
actually like 5 years.
But it's also crazy because we never actually find out how old Celine and Helena are at this point either. Because obviously
Oh,
she
I didn't
says
even
the
realize
whole,
that.
yeah. Because like I know that she mentions like when they were adolescents,
Yes.
Thea killed their father, Theon, obviously, because she wanted the crown and he wanted it to go to Helena instead. And she's like, our teenage daughter instead of me, what the fuck? You bastard.
Valid. Like, I have a daughter, and she's not a teenager, but even when she is, I guarantee she's not ready for that kind of shit.
I know. And like even Celine was like, neither of us wanted the damn crown, okay? And my father was adamant that he was giving it to us and not to our mother.
I wonder why. Like, what was his motive?
Like, what did he know?
What did he know?
What did he know?
Don't you don't do that unless you have a legitimate reason.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like it's sus enough that the person who raised her was an Asteri. So I mean,
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah.
But that's also a thing. Like, was Vesperus actually Thea's mother? We don't know.
So true.
She's like, oh, she was like my mistress. She raised me. Celine says
Yeah.
that she raised Thea. So I was like, did her parents give her to an Asteri? Or was she actually her child and she just didn't care?
Yeah. Was she like her child with like a high fae? Mm. Because
This,
then that would also mean that they have like that Reese then would have even more like Valg,
yeah.
Dagwood in him.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
Exactly. But also, this would go to my theory that Starborn magic is a branch of Asteri magic because
yeah.
Thea had the light magic because she was good.
Do we
I
know
feel,
anything about like dusk or like the powers of dusk and that power prior to them? Do we like they are the start of it? Like they are in
yeah,
her.
pretty much. I have like a personal theory that it was actually like, I think I told you like Mala and Aelin and all of those because I
Yeah.
still think they're the past.
Yeah.
But with the world walking thing with Maeve, like that's totally possible, you know? Uh, but yeah, so I wonder if, because again, Maeve says not all Valg are evil. So I'm wondering if the Valg that are born like pure of spirit have
Right.
starborn magic, like the light, and the ones that are born like evil have the dark,
Oh, that's interesting.
right?
Yeah, because it was always so strange to me how many times I've compared her like life to Rigulus. I was like, this
Yes.
is not,
I
that's
know.
not once you could be like, yeah, I would probably wonder about that too, right? Like they
Yeah.
are similar in this evil being and that you're
Yeah.
trying to like but like I don't know how many times she compared it, but it was a
Yeah.
lot. And I was no, that's something. That's
A
too
lot.
many times. That's something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know whether this is a Sarah J. Maas not like I don't like to think that she's not keeping track of her details here because like
Yeah.
authors should be keeping track of their details. But I think it's weird that Vesperus has, raven black hair, crushing blue eyes.
Yep.
Hello, who do we know here with
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And
Right.
and Thea has golden blonde hair. And Fionn has golden blonde hair, like Moore's line. But their daughters have raven black hair and crushing blue eyes.
Wow.
And we have to remember that the Valg, which are the Asteri, because I've said this a million times, but the princes of hell confirm it with the collar thing. The Valg royalty in particular have Daemati magic. They are Daemati. So I'm wondering if the girls were Vesperus's children with Fionn, and then she manipulated things to make it seem like they were Thea and Fionn's. Because if you remember, this makes so much more sense when you remember that Helena and Selene were not born with the Starborn magic. They were only born with shadow magic.
And they are gifted
to
each of them.
Which makes sense because remember, in order for Bryce to go through, to fully world walk back and forth, she had to have light and shadow from the prism.
Oh my God, that would be so like also because the whole thing of ACOTAR, right, is like repeating the past. Like that's the whole thing. So then if Vesperus if Vesperus is gonna have kids with Fionn,
yeah.
Oh my God, and then like manipulated their minds exactly the same way.
Right? But it's crazy because I know we've talked about the Autumn Court too, but Eris says, and I'm going to bring this back around, don't worry, but Eris says, like, oh, I've learned a thing or two about Daemati. Good thing that I never taught my brothers how to shield their minds or whatever. So I'm wondering if Thea learned how to shield her mind, because remember, like after all this stuff happened, she betrays Vesperus and she locks her in the floor or whatever. So either her mind was manipulated and something, I don't know. Yeah, something fixed it or erased the mist over her mind. I don't know. But I was like, so she gave the girls the light and they became prisms, and that's why they could world walk. Like Bryce.
My mind is blown. Every time I talk to you, my mind just gets more blown.
Because every time I think of something, I'm like, okay, I need to find proof of this. Like, I need to find proof that this could be actually viable.
Yeah.
And I had like a ton of other points. I have like a whole reel about it, but it was just crazy because then like you think of Amren and you go back to Amren and the rift, like we were talking about how she fell through the rift into the world. And in Akasif, it's just like she says nothing. Like they changed the subject to the Wild Hunt after, but Reese is like, oh well, Amren fell into the world and then they lumped her in with, the rest of the Daglin and threw her in the prison. I was like,
yeah.
Did they though? Or was she actually attacked? Come on.
She's literally like, I was gonna say the most sus, but I also think that Moore is super sus as well.
Yeah.
Like the two of them, I'm like, what the fuck's going on with you?
Can I bring up a really cool point?
Me too.
What did Amren and Moore fight about so bad that they burned down Reese's favorite house?
Down the cabin.
Its favorite house.
Okay. It's like it just says like vaguely the last time two of us thought, was Moore and Amren and they burnt down the cabin. With no context.
Like they're like when I remembered that I was like, okay, they're like really giving like Thea and Vesperus because like Amren has the dark hair, Moore has the gold hair. They're both shadow magic and all this stuff.
Again, there's the past coming back.
I know. What is that? The giant soup pot.
Comes back around, doesn't it?
And the way that she says, they will remember they have not caught me. The wind and the stone all whisper. Like, that's what fucking Vesperus says.
Yeah, and Lanthus, right?
And Lanthus, yeah.
Vesperus in the prison, and he's like, oh, the winds of the something of the sea.
And it's weird because like the Bone Carver, like while he was very creepy, like he was the most like kind of all of them. And Amren was pissed that they went to see him.
Yeah, she was. I've like literally have just finished listening to those chapters, and when Feyre and Cass get her and like get him, and she was like so mad.
When Asriel literally puts his hand on Truth Teller and she's like, your dog. She knew about Truth Teller the whole time.
Of course.
She's such a liar.
She's such a liar. Like none of her story makes any sense.
And she's like, well, these assholes don't remember. They weren't born. I can make up whatever the hell I want.
She's all like, it just doesn't match up anywhere along the line. Like,
which is why I love when like one of her first conversations with Feyre when she's like, oh, Asriel will never trust me, and Rhys tells him not to spy on me, but he doesn't care if he goes against orders to do so, and I would be shocked if he didn't. And I was like, what? First thing in Akamath? This is like a long game with Amren.
It is. I'm so sussed out about her like being born or like being brought back to life. Do you think she's actually lost like her vow? I don't think so either.
Feyre says in Akafast that she still sees that flicker of power in her. Or feels the flicker of power in her. I was going through Akafast last night because as many times as I've read the series, sometimes I will only kind of read the Tamlin chapters of Akafast. So I was like going back through it and I was like, oh shit, like taking all these screenshots of stuff that I forgot. Because I was like, I know that there is a line in here where Feyre mentions her still having power, and there was, and I found it. It said some sliver of silver still or some sliver of power still like limned her eyes or limned her silver eyes or something, and I was like, Do
you know what frustrates me?
And what?
People can't just die. I would have been really happy.
I'm realizing now why she couldn't kill Amren, because she's such a central part of this story.
She's gonna be like the catalyst where all like
she's gonna be in Twilight of the Gods. Mark my words, 100%. So is Hybern. So is Amarantha. They're all gonna be in Twilight of the Gods. Like, Can I also mention the symbolism of that scene in Akafast when Feyre goes to visit Amren? Do you remember what she was doing?
No.
Or what her new hobby was?
I don't remember Akafast so much.
It was jigsaw puzzles.
Puzzles?
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why? Yeah, I can tell you know why.
Puzzle pieces. Puzzle pieces. No, puzzle pieces, because she only doles out certain pieces of information at certain times. Because she's creating the puzzle.
Puzzling.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting.
Yeah. I was like, really? So she's into puzzles now. She's like, yeah, I did like 150 of them this week. And then Feyre was like, it's been 3 days. And she's like, yeah, but I'll get bored otherwise.
Yeah. What do you think her deal is with Varian? What do you think her end game is with Varian? Like, why?
Oh, okay. I did not pay a lot of attention to Varian the first few times.
Yeah.
But the last couple times, I'm just like, he is just so into her. Like, not just into her. He is like worship.
Yes.
It's like worship. It's weird.
Get-go could not take his eyes off of her.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime they were mentioned together in any scene, in any of the books, it's like the obsession almost. Yeah.
But like the only scenes that I find Amren tolerable are with Varian for some reason. But the way that he's just
like her in scenes like where Feyre and Amren were getting the Book of Breathings. I actually thought, I was like, you've been a bit of a badass here. I liked her. I thought they were really well written. I really liked like her character in those moments.
I was really sad for Varian in the cauldron scene during the war when he was like, please don't leave me. I was like, but then I was like, how long have you been dating? Like a month?
Yeah, not that long.
Weird. No. And the way that he like betrayed Tarquin for her was weird.
Yeah. After the blood rubies with the necklace. What does Varian know?
Yeah, because at the High Lords meeting, when Tamlin was like, funny how only the Night Court showed up to play hero when Summer got attacked and none of us knew that it was happening. And then Varian was like, I told them. And then he like looks at Amren and I was like, And Tarquin was kind of pissed.
Yeah, I remember.
I think Varian is very bitter that he's not High Lord.
Ooh.
Because he's older. He's an older
Really?
cousin. Yeah. Him and Cressida. Yeah, they're like centuries older than him. And like Tarquin's 80 and like he got the High Lord magic.
That's so weird. Why?
I don't know. But when Rhys, I think it's Rhys, Feyre or Rhys during solstice when they're like, oh, what do you do for summer solstice? And da-da-da-da-da. And then Feyre's like, oh, we could ask Tarquin over if you want. And then he was like, I'm good. Like, okay. Like, he's your baby cousin and your High Lord. And then Rhys was just like, oh, well, he doesn't want to have to deal with business while with Amren. But I was like, it's definitely deeper than that.
More than that. There's no way to go. If your High Lord has sent a blood ruby to someone, you don't go then sending them a necklace to fucking apologize for it. And then say, oh, hey, like, we're under attack. We're warning you, specifically Night Court / Amren, to get out of here.
I know. Oh. I would have loved to see his punishment for that. Because also, I think he knows that, like, Tarquin is so young and he's so, like, he's just not rough yet. Like, he's not, he's sweet.
He's yeah, he is. Yeah. I love Tarquin, and I think it's because he's got like golden retriever vibes, right? I'm like, that's the fucking best.
One of my favorite scenes though was when he chewed Feyre's ass out for everything she did to Spring and everything. So I was like, oh, I like you here. I like you here.
I really liked him when Feyre, after the battle in Summer Court, where Feyre was like, oh, deal with your dead Tarquin, and you're wounded, and he was, who the fuck are you? Come in. I can't tell me what to do.
Get your mate and get out. I was like, and then I was so mad. I was so mad when Rhys is like, you don't talk to her that way. She could say whatever she wants. She's High Lady of the Night Court. I'm like, you're in Summer, bitch. What?
And he's High Lord.
And he does that to Thesan too during the meeting. It's so annoying.
It's so annoying.
I'm like, you're not High King yet, dude. Calm down.
No. Yes.
Hopefully never.
God, I hope he never becomes High King. I don't think you want there to be a High King. No. If there was one,
Lucia.
Yes. Exactly. It would have to be Lucia. I would accept no other High King. But I just don't think like, I think the court system is too favorable for everyone already living
or
there.
Cormac.
Or Cormac.
Because Cormac, and in mythology, Cormac was the first benevolent High King of Ireland.
Oh. Okay.
And an ancient word for Ireland is Hibernia. Hibern. Yeah. And we have to remember that Amren is the one who tells them when Rhys is like, I will never be High King. I don't want to be High King. She like looks at the Kingmaker sword, like the biggest one, right? And she's like, well, it'll choose another then. And Rhys, Cassian, and Azriel have all been around it in the study. Didn't choose any of them.
It like fought Rhys though. Like it wasn't gonna pick him regardless. Amren.
Him.
I know. Fought him. He had to put in so much effort.
So sweaty.
Cover off it.
I'm like, Amren, there's no way. So I'm like, if it's not Rhys, it's not Cassian, it's not Azriel.
Yeah.
Who was destined to be king of the Dust Court?
Yeah.
Cormac. Where is he? And I make this point a lot too. Cormac has the light and the shadow.
Yes.
The fire and the shadow.
Yeah.
The word marks, the everything.
The fact that he's the only person in Midgard who can winnow. The only one.
Only one. Rigel, he's the undiluted bloodline. Hello?
I know.
More world walked her secret baby to freaking Midgard 70-something years ago, I swear.
I want to know how she kept a pregnancy hidden. Do you reckon she was up in her Valahan house?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Because she said, like, oh, she'll vacation here when she needs to get away for a while.
Get away. Yeah.
And you got to think, like, okay, 10 months isn't that long for Faye, right?
Not really. Not at all. Not when they have thousands of years to live.
Right?
And I find it so curious that if that's her, getaway space, if that is where she went when she was pregnant to hide the pregnancy from those around her, what's that sleeping shadow that found her there?
Exactly! It's Cormac! Like calls to like. Like calls to like, he would land in front of his freaking mom.
And subconsciously, like this is my own personal belief, but subconsciously I'm so like, babies in your womb feel everything that a mother feels, feel everything that they feel around them. Like he would naturally be drawn back to that place. That's where he the first part of his life while he was growing inside his stomach.
Exactly. And the way that she's like, oh, foreign but familiar. Well, foreign because he's been living in Midgard his entire life now.
Exactly. Don't know him.
And then familiar because you have the same magic.
Yeah. Because
the dark roiling magic beneath her pretty exterior. Cassian. He's so poetic with more. I hate that. But
more. Oh, with Nesta though.
But also, which I pointed out to the girls before, so I'm repeating myself a lot, but people like to listen, so they'll listen. Again, I like to point out that when Eris showed up to the war, do you remember the wording?
A rip in the world.
Yeah.
Or a rip in the sky?
Rip in the world. Rip in the world. Rip in the world.
Yeah, where was he?
Right?
Because if it was winnowing, she'd just say Eris winnowed in front of her.
Winnowed on top of the knoll. Winnowed has never been out of a rip in the world.
No, it's always described as winnowing.
Yeah.
Every single time. Winnow strike, winnow flap.
Yeah.
It's always
appeared in front of me. Like,
winnowed behind me.
Eris.
Where was he though then?
I swear that him and Moore meet up in Valahan. Like, I swear they're not enemies. It's a game. It's a game.
You reckon?
Even if she does have some resentment toward him, their arguments are just so like juvenile for their age.
They are. And it's always the same. It's
oh, like, you're a whore. Oh, you're a bastard.
Like, what do you mean? Like, what secret?
And,
like,
and the way that she always shuts him up from saying more, because I feel like he wants to say more all the time. And she's like, I don't give a shit. Leave. Did it like all the time.
Do you think that part of her truth power is being able to stop people from revealing their truth?
Could be part of it.
I reckon
I don't
maybe.
know. Because, okay, there's no way that she doesn't know the whole truth about Eris unless her truth magic is a branch of Daimati magic, which would then make sense because he can shield himself from it. But the fact that, which I'm kind of thinking because when she, takes Feyre from Spring, she's like, she knocks the guards out with her magic. And she's like, they'll have one hell of a headache, but they're alive,
Yeah.
And then when they're on the ice and she like scrutinizes Lucian, and then Feyre's like, whatever her truth magic saw in him, she trusted him to go back to the townhouse or whatever. And then she does the same with Elaine, where they're like, is she really a seer? And she's like, yeah, she is. So I was like, But it's weird because then, in Silver Flames, which this could just be Cassian being Cassian, but he was like, whatever Rhys saw in Eris's mind, he must have told more because now she trusts him at least to be their ally. So I was like,
Or she trusts him because they had a secret baby together and he helped her get him to a safe place.
Or like, did Eris have some sort of, I don't know, did Eris help bring him back to Prithian?
True.
I don't know. The key here is freaking Lady Autumn, because where is Eris getting this information from? The Red.
Yeah. I need more of her story. Oh my God.
I swear she has like this secret like library with like a grimoire and like all this history. Because just the way that he was like, oh, it's weird that the Illyrians never looked under Rimiel, and it's weird that there's caverns beneath all the What?
He knows so much about the mountains. Look, like, granted, he's super old, and yes, he could just have a vested interest in them, but
like Cormac, the archives. The archives.
Yeah, he has a vested interest in the history of where he lives. Like, that's literally Cormac too.
I know.
Youth in the fucking archives of Avalon.
I swear Lady A has like archives.
Yeah, because she's like one of the most powerful lines in Autumn, hey? Yeah.
That's why Baron bought her to be his wife, like literally purchased her. Oh my God.
Think that like Baron like siphons her power.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I thought it was hilarious that he probably doesn't do it in front of other people. So I thought it was hilarious that his High Lord powers couldn't even make a dent in Azriel's shield during the High Lords meeting. It was weird.
He did. He's a High Lord. He should be able, that should be no problem.
Like Illyrians are like lesser fae, right? They're siphons. They're just siphons. Siphons, right?
Granted, Azriel's super powerful, but
nobody knows who he is technically, but
shouldn't be a match for a High Lord, right?
He was like hurling fireballs and nothing was doing anything. I was like, this is weird.
That is weird.
And like even Eris, but I kind of like Eris in this scene because when he's dragging Feyre on the ice or whatever, she's like, oh, I knew his fire would burn me if he willed it or whatever. And like, you have to think like, as much as Eris and Azriel hate each other, Eris is the only one who knows that it's over a misunderstanding, right?
Yeah.
So I thought it was really cute that he didn't burn Azriel because Azriel's trauma is being burned. Even though he was choking him. Like, he could have grabbed his hands and, like, burned them.
Yeah.
Because he was like this.
Yeah.
I was like, Eris. Eris. Right?
Eris.
I know.
I like, even when he was, like, evil, I was still like,
I loved him. Yeah. I like him. I was like, there's no way. He's just, like, a little put-upon kid, you know? But, yeah, Azriel... I think that you know this, obviously, but Azriel is like a triquetra of power because he has he has, I've showed you my whole Azrael and Hell thing. I swear to God, he's from Adis's line. Obviously through
That was
Selene, through all this
so
stuff. Or, or my other little theory was, what if Thea and Adis did have like a child, or I don't know. I don't know.
were they ever in the same world at the same time, Adis and Thea? Or did they only ever meet
Well, they met in the middle, but like,
like through like a doorway, essentially?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're both blondes too, so technically, like, Azriel would be a descendant down the line, pretty much, like through Selene, whatever. Um, but I find it hilarious that Moore is like, "Oh, I didn't sleep with him because I knew it would hurt him." No, you didn't sleep with him because he's your cousin.
Are related.
You didn't tell anybody. You tell nobody. What the hell, Moore? Like, just be like, "Oh, you're my distant cousin through this
Hey,
line."
like,
Like,
I don't want to have sex with you.
yeah,
Okay.
it's weird. It's weird. It's weird. But I always just find it so hilarious, those lines where like Reese is terrified of Azriel. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yes. I like, especially in Silver Flames, like how much he like started to push back. I was
And
like,
Akathas?
yeah. I was
Mhm.
like, dude, something's like this is gonna
I
fall
straightened
apart.
at the order in the words.
Yeah.
Reese
Yeah.
straightened at the order in Azriel's words. Like, think about that.
Like, why? Why would his body do that if he is the High Lord? Like,
Because a
why would
prince of hell would outrank a high lord.
crazy?
Uh-huh. Yeah. He has to be a descendant of hell, like Hunt. That's what I've
Yeah,
been
like
saying,
that.
like Hunt.
Yes.
Yeah. And obviously we know that the Illyrians were made by the Valg, so he's like hell, he's Valg, he's Starborn. And we were going over like who is Koshi? Is he a Valg? Is he this? Is he that? But Koshi's shadows are the same sentience as Azriel's shadow. The same. The same. And Azriel's shadows were freaked the fuck out in that scene. Like they warned him, but it said too late. So like Koshi's shadows were faster than Azriel's shadows because obviously he's older.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wonder if, because if it's possible that Aylin's descendants from the Tog world forgot about the Valg Wars and the history there, if the same thing, obviously the same thing we know happened in Prithian because they didn't know about Selene or anything.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if like somewhere along the line they did the little lab baby thing like with Hunt.
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
I'm thinking that this is Azriel's mother's trauma because his dad
oh,
had a wife and two sons already.
yeah.
So like why are
And
you just gonna like why are you
right?
just gonna go like rape some random part like
Yeah.
you're married and you have two kids already. Like it made no sense to me. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking like
Patrick becomes Illyrian. We know the
we assume.
I
Nothing's
assume.
confirmed, but yeah, we assume. I mean, technically she has to be able to birth him now that we know from
That's
Nick's.
him.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
like by process of elimination, we're pretty confident.
Which, unless, again, Azriel somehow summoned his wings as like a baby
True.
and he doesn't know, kind of like Reese, but Reese was older.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I was thinking that Azriel could be like a test tube baby, like
Yeah.
Koshi, Adis's
Well,
line. Like,
especially even like if his mum is Illyrian and the Illyrians were made by the
yeah,
Asteri, like that
yeah,
all
like, yeah. But
and
also, like, his mom reminds me of how Hunt described his own mom. She was
yes.
poor, and they offered
Totally.
her, like, oh, we will give you a nice life if you carry this child. So I was
Yep.
like, did she, like, lie to him? Like, what is happening? And then he was taken by the father, held in a
Yeah.
dungeon. Like, why? Like, was he an experiment? They burned him as an experiment. His brothers burned him. Like, what did they overhear?
How
Shadowfire from Tog?
long? Oh,
I think they overheard something about, you know, well, if you mix his gifts with fire, maybe we can turn it into destructive shadow fire, like make him an ultimate da 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 da. And who knows if they were gonna like use it against the High Lord or whatever.
Yeah.
Because why was Reese's dad so intent on keeping Azrael away from everybody and just his personal like lackey?
Yeah.
So
Other than
yeah.
selfishness.
I was convinced for so long that Caltaine was his mom because she exploded like Cormac and like we never see a body or anything. So she could have gone through the rift too, right? But then I was like, technically she had to be Illyrian. I don't know.
Yeah.
Unless all that time under the ring or whatever and she gained like some of their shifting powers. I don't know.
Could be.
Could be. I don't
Could
know. I don't know.
I loved Caltaine's storyline.
Yeah. But it's
So
like
much.
this, but it's like she had the dark hair and like,
So many of the similar physical features.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like shadow fire and then Cormac shadows and fire. And I was like,
I mean, there's like, who is to say that they didn't experiment on Caltaine further than what we were told with the shadow, like with the shadow fire?
exactly.
They were
And they were
impregnated.
doing all these like, and they were doing all these breeding experiments and more.
Yes.
I'm convinced that they used Orid, the middle, for that in Prythian. That's why it's so rotted.
Well, you think they world walked there to do the experiments?
I think whoever left the Tog world, like the Asteri Valg that left the Tog world, got to Prythian, wanted to do the same thing there, wanted to try the same thing there.
Yeah.
But they were eventually driven out because remember they were like, oh, the witches that were made or whatever, they would like drink children's blood and da, da, da. So I was like, weird experiments were happening.
Yeah.
Because it mirrors the Dust Court, how Selene covered it in evil to
like essentially pull the way.
And the middle has the mist of the Dust Court.
Oh my God.
Yep. Hewn City was connected by secret tunnels to the Dust Court, and Amarantha forged her, she lied because Under the Mountain was already carved out, as Eris tells us.
Of course, because it's like their prison.
It's a sister mountain. It was already forged. So, but she was telling everyone like, oh, she created it to look like Hewn City. No, it was already there. They have all the secret tunnel systems under everything. Right? It's so weird.
God, it's so weird.
And I'm gonna try to pull it up real quick. I did a reel where I went a little bit too deep here, but it was like the test tube baby thing after Hunt.
Yeah.
And I was like, so many of their scents are similar.
Yeah.
And Hunt has the same scent as Azrael. One of the same scents as Azrael. Because I was saying like, oh, I think the Starborn scent is lilac and the test tube baby scent is like cedar.
Yeah.
And it was crazy because the way that oh, here it is. Found it. Hold on. All right, here it is. I said, is the Starborn scent lilac? Confirmed character sense. Bryce was lilac and nutmeg. Feyre is lilac and pear. Rune and Cormac are still unknown, which is interesting.
You don't know their sense?
No. We don't know Lucian's either, or Eris's. It's so funny.
I did have something.
Lady A was fire roasted chestnuts and crackling embers.
Okay, it must have been her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tamlin is lilac and cedar and petrichor. And like new grass, but yeah. So then I was like, Bryce is Starborn, connected to the Dust Court, as we know. Tamlin is Starborn. I've explained that a million times, but Tamlin's also Starborn. And Feyre is now kind of Starborn from Healy and Tamlin, getting all of their magic. I said they all suspiciously have a lilac scent.
Yes.
And then I said, huh?
No, she's
Who?
Lane's
Is Jasmine.
Jasmine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Nesta is like burning steel and fire or something like that.
Oh, she fucking is.
But also fire. I gotta get all the people. I gotta get all the people with fire too. Lady A, Nesta, yeah, all the embers. Einar.
Like Lady A, be like give like Ember Quinlan vibes for Nesta.
I know.
Like
I need it.
Oh my God, I could so see it too.
I know.
I can so see it.
Yeah. I was like, possible test tube baby sent cedar. And I said, Hunt was rain and cedar. Tamlin, as I said, lilac, cedar, petrichor. Azriel, nightchilled mist and cedar. And then I said, Cormac, Helion, Lucian, Eris, etc. Unknown. I said, we know Hunt was a test tube baby. His mother was recruited. His father was a scientist. They conceived him, mixed the embryo with the essence of the two princes of hell. They made Hunt take down the Asteri one day. Azriel's a shadow singer, has the exact same shadows as Koshi. His brothers wanted to burn him. He was kept in a dungeon. Did Koshi recruit his father the way that Apollyon recruited Hyrius? Cormac shares the exact same shadows as well and conveniently doesn't have a mother in canon. We don't have info on his scent. And then Tamlin, I said, which kind of shocked the girls when we talked about this, I said, why was his father taking Tamlin to Hybern as the youngest son?
Why? Yeah.
Like straight into the Valg clutches. I was like, were they doing experiments on him? Because I feel like this is why he doesn't like Callan May and like doesn't really like to be touched unless he initiates.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm. And this is why he's other. This is why like his power's more explosive. Because I think that he was made with like Tog magic, like the essence of Aylin's line.
Holy shit.
Because he has the fangs, the elongated canines, the only person in Prythian with the elongated canines. The raw shifting. Mm-hmm.
Are his because that's not normal, high fae.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. They're like they're always pointed, but then like when he's like shifting or whatever, they get longer. Like Aelin. Like Aelin. It's like, and then he shifts like Lysandra.
Yes.
He has Aelin's hair, Rowan's eyes, Rowan's wind power.
Like he's so there is no like there is no denying that he's from their line. Like you can't.
And everyone's like, no, it's just Adian and Lysandra. I was like, no, because he also has Goldrun's ruby, Aelin's ring. Like, I still think his mother was a product of both Rowaelin and Lysadian's descendants mating. Because Aelin was supposed to marry Adian, her cousin, to keep the bloodline pure.
Yeah.
So I was like, and then I was like, if his mother had, you know, Evelyn Ashriver, which was Aelin's mother's water magic, that could explain the Starlight Pool.
Could explain the Starlight Pool. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Bye.